What do you do when everything that you've built your life on begins to crumble? When you're faced with a darkness that you just can't ignore, and a voice tells you, that's enough. This is exactly what happened to me, and it changed everything. In the last video, I shared with you how I got deeply involved in New Age spiritual practices and how it all seemed as if I should have had all the answers to life figured out, everything I was searching for, but behind the promises of enlightenment, there was actually a darkness that I could not escape from. But my story didn't end there. In fact, it was really only the beginning of one of the most unexpected, powerful, scariest moments of my life. Today, I'm going to tell you about the turning point, the night that shattered everything I thought I knew, and how God's voice broke through and was there perfectly in my darkest moment. Now, after my grandmother's passing, I kept diving deeper into New Age spiritual practices. The visions continued, but so did the anxiety, the depression, and the dark shadows that followed me. I was ignoring all of the signs and just pushing forward, convinced that I just needed to meditate more and manifest harder, and it would all make sense. I sincerely thought that I was on the right path, but everything took a terrifying turn when my young daughter began experiencing night terrors, night after night after night, waking up in blood-curdling screams, unable to explain what was scaring her. There was one night in particular that I will never forget. My husband and I were in bed. We were trying to sleep, and suddenly my daughter woke up, screaming at the top of her lungs, louder than she had any night before. And it wasn't a normal cry. It was full of fear, pure terror. So we rushed to her room, and when I looked into her eyes, I could see the fear that was there. Like she was seeing something that I couldn't. And this frightened me as a person who has seen many visions before. My husband and I were stressed. We were hopeless. Our marriage was like on the brink. Everything in our lives felt like it was falling apart because there was nothing we could do to console her or to protect her. And so what happened next is something I would have never expected. Shortly after this experience, my husband, who had devoted his life to Christ early before our marriage, but had walked away, also pursuing the New Age spiritual path, began to pray. And one night in particular, he heard the voice of God specifically call to him and say, "That's enough. Come home." My husband knew exactly who this was and what it meant. And it was a call for him to turn away from everything that we'd been involved in our lives and to return back to God. In that moment, he got up and with haste, he went and he started gathering everything in our house that had any form or connection to a spiritual New Age practice. Books, crystals, tarot cards. He threw it all out. It was like a switch flipped inside of him, and there was just no holding him back. He was like a madman rampaging through every nook and cranny of our house. I wish that at that time I could say that I was the same way, but a part of me was really clinging on to what power I had really begun to have with having some of these visions and some of this mediumship skills that I had acquired. And I wasn't quite ready to let my entire world crumble around me piece by piece. I knew that I was forced to make a choice, to either keep pushing forward on the path that was really leading me deeper into darkness and putting a serious strain on my marriage, or to finally surrender and to see where God was leading us. This wasn't an easy decision, but it was one that would change my life forever. That night was just the beginning of our journey back to God, as we cleared out everything New Age from our lives. We thought during that season we were moving towards freedom, but what we encountered was an unexpected darkness. Doubts crept in. The spiritual battles intensified. It quickly became clear that the path to true peace was going to be anything but easy. And just when I thought we had it all figured out, I faced a shocking revelation that shook me to the core. In the next video, I'm going to share the biggest lie about spirituality and how it almost destroyed me. A truth that changed everything for me. You won't want to miss it.